Hello, and I'm back. My friends always make fun of me because I do that when we have videos or whatever. So here we are. We're going to start our devotions up again after my time away. Um, so I've missed you. I hope you've missed me. Maybe, maybe not. Um, but today, we continue our devotions and we learn and we hear them for the first time together. I really think that brings some genuineness to this devotion because it helps me to react right away, which is interesting, and maybe you too, hopefully, unless you watch these numerous times. Um, I think it just helps us encounter the word and then also encounter the word at work in life, in our life. Yeah. Anyway, why keep a broken bell? There was a big crowd in front of the State House in Philadelphia. The new bell had arrived from England, and it was about to be rung for the first time. The bell ringer swung the clapper. The bell made a lovely bong, and then it cracked all the way up the side. Oh, do you know what bell this is? Well, now, this bell had to be fixed. A brass maker named Mr. Stowe was hired to do the job. First, he melted the bell, and then he remolded it. The bell was tested again. This time, though, it just went thud. It just went thud when it was rung. So back to the shop it went. Again it was remade, and again it was rung. Finally it was perfect, which was a good thing because this became the Liberty Bell that was rung in 1776 to gather everyone when the Declaration of Independence was read out loud for the first time. I saw that bell a little over a year ago. Amazing. In 1777, however, the Liberty Bell was in trouble. Americans had to take it down and sneak it out of town. Ooh, that rhymes. Sneak it out of town at night to hide it from the British Army, because the Army would probably try to melt it and make bullets out of it. The bell stayed in the basement of a church for a year, and then it was brought back to Philadelphia and hung up again. Hung up again to be rung on important occasions for the next 57 years. But one day, something amazing happened when it was rung. The Liberty Bell cracked again. What was really surprising was that it broke on exactly the same day, July 8th, as it had cracked the first time 59 years earlier. It hasn't been rung since then, but it has been visited and admired by many Americans, by many people from all over the world. So, along with our devotion, so what? Liberty is another word for freedom. Some people say that they don't want to be Christians because they would have no freedom. There are too many rules to follow, too many restrictions. But this is not true at all. The Bible says in Galatians 5, you have been called to live in freedom. Not freedom to satisfy your sinful nature, but freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Again, that's Galatians 5, verses 13 through 14. Love your neighbor as yourself. Yes, in several sermons that I've preached, several sermons that I've heard, and just really in general, this is the freedom that we're given. I always mess up, and I say this too every time I do it. I always mess up Luther's quote, and I won't even try to do it now. But we are pretty much we're slaves to one another, but we are slaves of service. We are servants. That's what slaves means here. Servants for one another. We serve, but then we're also served. How? By God, yes. Through Jesus, yes. But to each other. Again, here we have ourselves. There's hopefully light at the end of the tunnel, but, not to quote a movie, but life finds a way, sometimes good, sometimes bad, to change things up. But here we are still a year plus in our pandemic, and these words, have they been truer before? Maybe for some of us, but for some of us, I'm going to say probably not. What is it to live in this freedom? What is it to love our neighbor? It's not about us, it's about others, and the rest will follow. I kind of got that if we listen to the bishop's sermon from our church service this last week. There's kind of this, we serve God, we serve others, and are we called to put ourselves last? Arguable, but it's caring for others, they care for us. I think there's a lot of people in this world that understand that, and there's a whole lot of people that don't. And you know what? Christians, Lutherans, what have you, that's not all our thing. We're just one of many. It's part of our belief, it's part of our worship, it's part of our faith. Liberty, yes. God gives us liberty. Again, though, there's a separation there because we talk about freedom. What does it mean to live in a free country? Yes, but it's not. That's earth. That's earthly things. Our focus is heavenly things. What is the freedom that is given to us by Christ, and how are we living it, therefore? Living heavenly things. We just heard about that again, and we hear about it all the time. How are we living heavenly things in our earthly things? That's the question. That's the question. Love your neighbor as yourself. I guarantee you'll feel that love back. Because when we follow this one rule, we have true freedom and live in a way that pleases God. So, until next time, think about that. Why keep a broken bell? This bell that my whole life I thought was humongous. And then I went to see it and I said, that's not that big. But it's not about the size of that bell. It's about what that represents. Not only for this country, but what does it mean for us? I'm just blabbing now. But, again, Galatians, you have been called to live in freedom, not freedom to satisfy your sinful nature, but freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Friends, that's law and gospel right there, together, and you can't separate them. Until next time.